Julian Rodriguez, welcome to the John Ronnie Show. First question, why do they call you Hammer Hands?
Rodriguez looking to put her away, and he does.
Well, I always had a certain pop to my punches. Since I was an early fighter, so I guess my stepdad at the time, he made a play off of Roberto Duran's name, Hands of Stone, Hammer Hands.
At which age does a boxer normally hit his prime?
Depends how well you take care of yourself. There's some fighters that look their best in their early 20s. There's some world champions right now that are above 35.
How do you feel?
I feel, well.
Julian Rodriguez, welcome to the John Ronnie Show. First question, why do they call you Hammer Hands?
Well, I always had a certain pop to my punches, my punching sound, I guess, since I was an early fighter. So I guess my stepdad at the time, he made a play off of Roberto Duran's name, Hands of Stone, Hammer Hands.
I like that.
And he's very good with coming up with nicknames. So he's very clever. He has a nickname for everybody. But for me, Hammer Hands. I think I was like 9 years old when I got that.
You got to earn that nickname. You're not just given that. You started boxing when, at 9?
At 7.
7 years old, you're in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
So you don't know anything else about boxing at this point?
No, not really. I mean, at the time, I was just like a normal kid playing with my friends, playing sports. Not really for schools or teams, but just in the park with my friends. And then when I was 7 years old, my mother wanted to be an esthetician. So she started taking classes. And those classes were from like 4 p.m. to like 8 p.m. or something like that. So someone had to watch me. So I went with my stepdad at the time. And we were stuck in this sweaty gym for 3-4 hours at a time. And I got tired of just sitting there or whatever. And one day I got into the ring to try to do some wrestling moves because I was a big fan of like The Rock and all this shit. So I went in there and tried to do the Rey Mysterio move on the ropes.
619?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, nah, don't get in there if you're going to do the fake shit. If you're going to get in there, it's to do the real stuff. So I started training. And I would hit the bag and the coaches would be like, whoa, wow, look. I don't know if they're just fucking blowing smoke or what, but so I'm like, oh shit. And then they brought in a kid who, I think like 2 weeks after I was training, maybe 2-3 times a week, they brought in a kid who was actually a fighter and he was a little older and heavier than me. And this is like it's a generic or a general process where like, okay, we bring in somebody to see what this kid's got, see if he wants to continue. So they brought in this kid and I'm here like, I'm still in play mode because I don't know the severity of the sport. So I'm here playing around and just doing what they told me, whatever. And all of a sudden this kid is bleeding from the nose. He's crying. He has a snot coming out of his nose. I'm like, his dad is yelling at him. I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on here? They stopped the sparring. The coaches and my stepdad brought me to this back room and they were like, did you just see what you just did over there? Like, imagine if you took the sport serious. And that was it.
We were just talking about this on the last podcast. It's like hard work and dedication is all important, but the people that are at the top, especially like a 23-1 pro boxer, had something first. You know what I mean? Like you weren't just some Joe Schmo that said, hey, let me play this boxing sport. Like on day one, you had a God-gifted talent. And I'm sure your coaches that were around you saw that. And that's probably why they pushed you so hard at 7 years old to get in the ring. Or else you probably wouldn't have been doing this right now,
Right. Well, it was definitely, I owe all of this to my stepdad because he really, and he was we were both very naive at the time. Like he was actually training also at the time when I was going to the gym, but he wasn't really trying to take it far. It was an interest. Once he saw the potential in me, he stopped training and he like just focused on coaching me. And through the years, we both just learned and just really excelled. And, but in the beginning, his training methods, like his source of like reference were like world champions.
Right.
So like he's watching these workouts with these world champions, these grown men, and he's making my 7-year-old ass do that.
Right.
And like my mother would be crying at the dinner table when I would have to eat fucking 4 leaves for dinner and shit. So like, obviously those tactics aren't the right way, but I've been through a lot of that with him. And man, he really worked me. So like I was so good at an early age, but there was so much that went into it that, there's a lot of things that stem from that too. Like I feel like certain anxieties I have from living in that type of environment or being coached in a certain way, especially with what I'm doing in my life. Like you're a coach. What kid wants to go fight another kid? Like, and there's like adults watching and cheering, and it's just weird. You know what I mean? So, and
then you got to go back home to live with your quote unquote coach. Like you never get time off.
Right.
I'm sure that anxiety probably stemmed from like you never got a break from your sport. You're always on edge. You had to be perfect 24/7. You said that some things weren't done properly. What would you have done differently at such a young age?
It's hard to say because I'm the person.
Right.
And there's pros and cons to everything that did happen. So like, I would like looking back, ideally, I would have loved to maybe be more of a kid and develop maybe things like social skills and because I wasn't allowed to even, majority of the time, I wasn't allowed to even converse with kids outside of school and things, or go to the park or do things like that. So, I had to find things to do in the house. So I got very comfortable with myself. And so then I became introverted and only gravitated towards things that I can, fulfill myself, like doing music, or for a while it was video games, obviously, but then like it went into music producing because I could do that all myself and playing instruments and things like that. So, but then like, if I did do all those things and I wasn't trained the way like a fucking dog, like I wouldn't have excelled. I wouldn't have been ranked #1 in the country at 9 years old, or I wouldn't have traveled to see so many different states or met so many different people because of my progression in the sport,
You seem very self-aware, like to acknowledge these things. And you say like my anxiety stems from this. Is almost like you've had to like almost like I would assume you went to therapy, and if you haven't, it's just like you came to this realization on your own. What did that lead to in like later stages of life, like this, I guess you said this lack of social awareness, I would say, and like understanding of how to communicate with other people?
Right. Well, I started using materialistic things to kind of talk for me or break the ice for me wherever I needed to go. I felt like that was and it's very cliche, it's a lot of people say that, but I was very shy. I was very introverted. I in a way, I kind of, looking back, I guess like I lacked self-confidence. Like I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know like if I liked this style, I would look for other people like, hey mom, you like these jeans? Yeah. Okay. You like them? All right, cool. I'll get them. So like there was a lot of things that I've noticed, but hold on. What was the question?
No, that's exactly what it was. Like it's so funny, like things like that, like little instances, like you asking your mom, do you like these jeans, right? A kid that was secure in himself wouldn't even go and ask your mom that question. You just wear whatever the fuck you want. Right. Your mom would say it looks stupid and you wouldn't care. So moving into life, like you're obviously introverted. You obviously had things going on that were bigger than you, which I'm assuming led to money and fame and all these different. Why did you feel the need to then pretend to be extroverted? Did you always want to be?
Right. Well, it was different for me, because once I started making money, I think I was 18 years old when I turned pro. Now it's like I opened up this level in my life where I was able to buy whatever I wanted. I was able to do things that I typically didn't do, especially at that age. You're starting to really go out or whatever. But even though I was 18, 19, I was still getting into these clubs that wanted me to go there because I was a pro athlete or whatever. And so I was shy. I never really had experience talking to girls or trying to figure things out, because my experience with girls at that time was I would go to tournaments and fucking win. And then like everyone would want to take pictures with me, and these grown men would be like, oh, can you take a picture of my daughter? Like, and then like it was just so easy at that point. Like, hey, do you have Facebook? You have MySpace? Like whatever it was at the time, And then I would do my talking like privately once they already kind of saw my potential or who I was or what I was good at. Mm-hmm. Then I felt secure.
Okay, so I would assume most of your conversations were about boxing, right? Like, and the girls that were around you cared about that, and then you assume they cared about the materialistic aspect of your life. Did you ever have one girl that was kind of like, hey, I think that stuff is cool, but I want to learn more about Julian?
Well, here's the thing. I use that as an icebreaker because I knew I was cool.
Right.
I just didn't know how to break the ice.
Yeah.
So like I knew once I started talking to them, they would be like, "Oh my God, wait, you're actually cool."
Yeah.
And that would happen like 90% of the time. They would be like, "I thought you were this serious guy." Like, and I'm over here like talking in different accents and making jokes, and they're like, "You're actually like goofy. Like this is weird." But that's the thing. And then as I got older, I realized like, oh shit, like I'm dope by myself. I don't need no fucking rollies, fucking, limos or anything like that. I went crazy for a while, like doing stuff like that.
Well, 18 years old, man, I would assume like you get gifted, or not gifted, you earned it. I don't know what the dollar amount would be that'd be considered like a big purse for you, but any type of money at that point, you're like, I'm balling compared to my friends that are 18 years old working, at a pizza shop, let's say like, what would be a huge purse for you at 18 years old?
It's hard to say because the shows are different, but I would fight in the garden and things like that. And I would, when you're starting out, you're making maybe around 10 grand.
Sure.
But you're fighting every 2 months at that point, but where I really made money was outside of the ring, through investors and things like that, and managers, and also you're on a payroll too. So like if you have a manager, promoter, you're getting paid monthly, and then on top of your fights, and that's like the bare minimum. I would also get paid extra because I would be a big ticket seller. So there's a lot of ways to get paid. But for me personally, I made more money with outside investors and things like that. So even like people at my level at that time, when I'm 18, 19, 20 years old, they weren't making the money I was making in my life. And they were like, how's this guy doing all this shit? Like he's moving around like this guy's world champion. But it's because of the outside of the ring things I had set up at the time. So
that makes a ton. It's like still like that. Like UFC fighters, they're not making a lot of money. The mid or even like bottom to mid tier guys, they're not balling out, but they have to do what they have to do outside of the cage to make that cash. You had the same manager as Arturo Gatti at one point. Yeah,
I started out with Pat Lynch.
Okay.
Great guy. Has been around the sport for a long time. Nothing but good things to say about him. Then after, I would say, a few years, my team and I kind of felt like maybe things weren't moving the way they should have, or I didn't have a certain level of respect with my promoter. So it's like promoter is the one who puts on the shows. Then it's manager who's supposed to negotiate your terms with the promoter. So the promoter is the one who pays you. I just felt like I needed a different manager because my manager was very close with my promoter, and there's a conflict there. And I felt like I just wasn't being heard, or I wasn't being respected in that way. And then we asked a few questions, and we ended up having a meeting with Jay Prince, who also who works well with that company that I was with. And he liked what he saw. He saw that I had potential, and then we signed a deal, me and Jay Prince.
The same Jay Prince that works with Drake.
Right. Jay Prince Sr. is the father. Right now the people that do the music stuff are his sons.
Okay.
Jay Prince Jr., Jazz Prince, those are the ones. Jazz Prince found Drake on MySpace, flew him to Houston to meet the dad, Then the dad set up the whole thing with him and Lil Wayne, so.
Wow, that's crazy. So the dad is he always involved with boxing?
Yeah, the dad is involved with boxing. He's been for a while now. I think since the 90s.
Okay. And how was it work with him? You don't work with him anymore?
No, I don't work with him anymore. It was good, man. It was a good time being around him and just experiencing different things. Yeah, it's just I did have some difficulties in terms of my promoter at the time. So it's kind of hard to, to put anyone at fault, because if I'm at war with promoter, or if me and the promoter don't see eye to eye, this manager comes in, it doesn't matter sometimes how much power they have or whatever. There's just a problem there. So there's not really much he can do. But I will say, once he did come into the picture, I did receive bigger paychecks and primetime TV slots. But that was the point of my career where I was reaching that anyway.
Yeah, so you don't know if it's I
don't know if it was because of him,
So the promoter matters more than the manager, I would assume.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Jay Prince was a promoter or manager?
He was manager.
Manager. What is the job of a promoter? Like, what is he doing for you?
The promoter is actually essentially the company. So it's like a record label. They're the ones putting up the money for the show. They're the ones paying your opponent to come, medicals. They're like putting on a concert, a show. Right. And then they hire acts so they can sell the place and, whatever. So that's their job. They promote the show. They're like a record label.
Okay, so they're negotiating with MSG and then with
and
whatever
networks.
Show and network. Okay, gotcha. And then their bottom is then, hey, this is what you're going to be getting paid because they know the entire lump sum there.
Right. So that there's the gray area because they could go to say hey, this is me on the Rocks Productions or promotions.
Right.
Hey ESPN, this is the main event, John versus Julian. You're gonna give us what, $3 million for the show? Okay, great. Now that $3 million budget is used at their discretion. Like,
and why would you not ask them like, hey, I want to see what that overall budget?
Because then now you're labeled a problem.
Really?
When you start going, hey, can I see this? They start going, oh, this guy's difficult. Tell all the reporters he's difficult. Yeah, this guy's a problem. Yeah, we're gonna shelve him. Yeah.
That'd be my first question. Like, how much fucking money are we getting involved with right now?
Yeah.
That's wild, man. Yeah. The only thing I can relate it to is like what we do. I guess I wouldn't know, like, because we make the same revenue comes from, say, brand, right? Brand X has $1 million. They want to spend it with 100 different creators. I wouldn't necessarily know how much money Brand X has to spend. All I know is that my agency pitched me at this dollar amount and they said yes or no to that. So I guess I've never really said, hey, like, open that book up and show me how many millions of dollars are they working with? Because you're right, it's not necessarily my business to be doing that.
But the thing is too, is that's something that's very easy to hide also. So like now you're gonna go and show your face and be like, hey, I want to see this. And then they go, okay, you're one of those. All right, here's the numbers for you. But now they know that you're one of those. Now they're like, all right, cool, asshole. Now you're going on the shelf.
That's such a fucking hard. So I guess it really, at the end of the day, you have to control what you can control, which is winning and being a personality in the ring.
Right. Like, they're all going to fuck you, bro.
Right.
It's just a matter of like, which one do you rather get fucked by? And like, what are the terms that you are kind of like, that you negotiate for yourself?
Yeah.
It is a dirty business. I think 50 Cent also, he got into the business as well for a little bit, and he's like the two worst businesses in the world, music and boxing.
Really?
He like makes that correlation between the two.
So how does, the only example I can use is like somebody that's really, really well off would be like a Floyd. Like, how does Floyd get to the level of wealth that he amassed?
Well, when he was younger, different eras, number one. Two, when he was younger, he was that guy. He's still the guy, but it's more so. He's older now, but he just had a captain that was very, very intelligent and innovative, and that's Al Heyman. Okay. He got with Al Heyman, and they switched up his whole branding, his image. He started making way more money, and he was able to, I guess, invest in himself or just keep reinvesting into himself.
Right.
Up until he was with Al Heyman, Floyd Mayweather wasn't really a brand. There was no money team. He would talk in the interviews like this. Yeah, I just like to thank God, and I want to thank my opponent for coming and blah, blah, blah. Whereas like once he started to, he got with Al, now Al Heyman put him around some rappers. Now Al Heyman had him wearing the chains and had him in clubs and gave him the TV show to do this and that. And now it's like, yeah, you suck, Oscar. Yeah, and now why? It's because it's shock value and people want to see him lose now. And,
yeah.
That's the way he had to go anyway, because he wasn't much of a ticket seller.
Huh. That's so. I guess he's such a defensive fighter. Like, you're not watching him to knock somebody the fuck out. You're watching because he's not going to get touched.
Yeah, and it seems like also, and this is a touchy subject, but boxing is a very, it's very ethnicity based in terms of, like soccer. USA, it's not that big, but you go somewhere like Portugal or whatever, it's sort of the same thing. Like, as far as ticket sellers, the Spanish countries, but I would say Mexico, Puerto Rico. You also have Ireland. That's a big ticket seller. So these companies, these countries, they're really like, you don't even have to be good, but you're from there and you're fighting in America, they will come out, and it's like, it's a big leverage. point for you for the company. That's why they cater to that.
Okay. I mean, you come with an Irish accent. You're like, oh, this guy's going to be a great boxer regardless of his skill set.
And they're thinking business. So like they'll protect a Puerto Rican fighter who's maybe not so good. But like, let's say there's a black fighter who can't sell, then they won't really care. Like so Terrence Crawford.
Yeah. For
so long, his company wanted to release him. They wouldn't really give him anything. They're giving him mediocre guys. So like they were about to release him, but they sent him to go to a different country to fight for a title to lose. They thought he was going to lose. So they sent him over there and to lose. No one went over there to support him. They had his papers ready, the release, and he actually won.
Wow.
And then he became the A side with the company and had that leverage.
So I guess it is this game, and you have to put on this persona, and you seem like very relaxed, and I know you're a humble guy based on the conversation we had. It would be weird for you to like go out now and start talking shit about opponents that you want to know, but like that's what you'd have to do, no?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely do it. It's just it has to be organic for me. Mm-hmm. I also came from an era where like the gym that I was training of had a lot of old timers in it. Mm-hmm. So like a camera in the gym, unheard of at the time.
That's crazy.
But now it's like it's what the companies care about now.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that's so weird to me. But you know, I got to play ball. But
we need to find your videographer just to follow you around.
Yeah, that's part of the plan.
We got guys. Don't worry, we can help you out. I mean, 23-1. Like this is the point now. And your last fight was September,
right?
And I noticed that for whatever reason, you had 2 or 3 fights cancel on you, like throughout from COVID to now. Why was that happening?
Yeah, so it was management issues.
Really?
You know, when me and Jay Prince no longer worked together, there was a bit of a transitional period for me to, I guess, acquire new management or find a team that I was comfortable working with, and also, you know, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it was just a bit of a not having the proper management.
Sure.
You know, then you give people that opportunity to make those moves for you, and things don't fall the way that you think they're going to fall. So there was American Dream reached out to me, that big mall over here. They wanted for me to do like some main event over there.
Really?
Fell through the day before. So
you had a whole camp.
Yeah, I had a whole camp. I was in immaculate shape, right in Bergen County, where I would have sold that thing out. And the day before, like my opponent couldn't get into the airport or something like that.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yep. Then there was other times too where like I was supposed to fight at the Prudential Center, I think a year ago. Something happened last minute with the contracts. Nobody knew anything what the details were. And I'm like, okay, the fight's 2 weeks away. I don't even know what I'm getting paid for this fight. Come on.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be problems that a guy at my level is dealing with.
Right. You got to be worrying about fighting. And that's it. Are you happy with management now?
So far, yes. Good. I've acquired new management.
Good.
People that I'm close to and that I know. My guy Steve Baharness used to play in the NFL.
Nice.
Used to play for the Patriots, Redskins. And also my guy Dimitri. He mainly works with hockey players, but he's very, very business savvy and very into sports and understands the language. And he's very on top of things. I feel very comfortable.
Good.
Very comfortable with my team right now. I got, my Russian coach. His name is Beck. He's bringing that Russian style, and Russians for decades have been on top of the fight game, even combat sports. He brings that mentality also that I think that I stepped away from for a while, because I think when we spoke off camera, I was mentioning that my whole life I was trained by my stepdad, and majority of people go to the gym and train with their coach for 2 hours or 3 hours, and then they're off to do whatever they want to do with no one watching them. So I had to go home with my drill sergeant. And, because of that, there was just a certain level of like discipline that was just brought out of me, whether I wanted it or not. So I never had it was always someone like, nope, let's go. Boom, running 5 miles every morning. Boom, we're doing it, whether I wanted to or not. And then it became a point where as I got older, if I don't have that, sometimes it's hard for me to.
If you don't have that actual force telling you what to do,
because I've been bred like that. But that's a weakness. That's a weak way to think. I
would assume, you would need some sort of excitement to bring that out of you, right? Like a big time fight with a big name or a big purse, or it's at a cool location. Then you get it. And nobody's excited to run 5 miles every morning, but that probably, and then keeping yourself accountable with posting about it and keeping everybody else kind of in the in the loop there. But yeah, man, they're 30 years old. Like keeping that constant routine of extremely hard discipline, terrible.
Well, times are changing also, because it's not even just about the discipline anymore. It's also like finances and things like that too. Like when I was earlier in my career and I had so much money to throw away and things like that, I threw it away towards the wrong things. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if only I can reinvest it into and focus more on my brand, or maybe start putting money away for the real estate stuff, or like, I would have been in a whole different place by now. And like, thank God I learned these lessons, but these are all the lessons that I feel like any man learns on his journey, no matter what he does,
At which age does a boxer normally hit his prime?
Depends how well you take care of yourself. Yeah. There's some fighters that look their best in their early 20s. There's some world champions right now that are above 35.
How do you feel?
I feel, well, that's a loaded question, because as I mature and as I get older, I feel like I become smarter, mm-hmm. and I perceive things in a way more beneficial way than I used to as far as training and mindset and focus and discipline and things like that. Whereas before, when I was this young 20-year-old, I'm like, what? One Oak? Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll get through this training and then we'll go here. Yeah, cool. Like, whereas, it's just, it's a little different, bro. Hold on, you got to give me the question again.
Yeah, no,
I'm veering off.
Sorry, your priorities seem different now than they once were. And like your prime, quote unquote, you may just look like a different fighter, but you're probably a more intelligent fighter.
Right. So back to my stepdad and how he was training me since I'm younger. Mm-hmm. Guy, he was training me like I was a pro athlete. And when you're banging on your body like that since such a young age,
right? Yeah.
You develop a lot of injuries throughout your career. And that's what happened with me. A lot of people tend to think that I was overworked or I was, burnt. Uh-huh. So a little too quick. But I don't believe that, because there were multiple times where, like maybe stretches of years where like it was nonstop. But then there would be times in my life where, let's say I did get an injury. Okay, then now I was on the side for a little over a year now. So I gave my body that rest to go, and not only just physically, but mentally and spiritually, to focus on other things and not have to focus on, I got to fight some guy today at 6:00. Like, sure. And there's a constant battle internally in terms of contrast in my life. Like, I love to be an affectionate father, and I have a little girl and stuff, but now it's like, okay, I go from doing this and fucking watching Daddy Shark all day or whatever, and then now I have to go and fight this dude who actually doesn't like me, and like, I'm worried that like, what if I hurt my shoulder, or what if I do this? Now my life is on the line. Like, my life depends on a fucking sport. You know what I mean? Like, if who wins in a sport, on a game. So that's why, like, I feel like there's a lot of anxiety I deal with, but that anxiety is supposed to fuel you. Right. That's ideally how it's supposed to work. That it's supposed to bring out the best in you. It's supposed to bring out the best in my training, so that there's no doubt or no worry that like, maybe this fight, what if I fucking have a seizure? What if I get an elbow in my eye and I can't see so there's a lot of things like that I think about. But when you're younger and fucking full of testosterone and fucking all loud shit going on, you think you're untouchable. You think like, oh, I've been doing this. I've been winning my whole fucking life with this. This is easy. Yeah. It's like kind of boring now because I'm winning so much. And then some shit happens and you're like, oh shit. For me, that was a point. Boxing started to get boring. Really? Yeah, not boring. Like, it wasn't interesting to me. It's just, it became like routine for me. And that's not something that's not the attitude you want in this game. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, yeah, okay, I go to the gym, I go and fucking party or whatever, and then I go and win this fight, take some pictures, cool, take a rest, go do this. And then like all it takes is a little injury to stop the money coming in or to stop people from looking and watching for you. And then a year later, you're like, holy shit, no one remembers me? What the fuck? And now no one remembers me. But like now, a lot of that money I had was fucking halfway over here. And now when I do go to the gym, my hook doesn't feel the same. So like there's things like that that make you go, oh, I got to look at things differently. And there's been a few of those times in my life and in my career where I was like, I hear you, I heard the message.
Do you enjoy boxing?
I do.
You do?
I do. Yeah.
So again, 23-1, almost a perfect record. How did your one loss impact you?
It's hard to say because there's like a right thing to say. There's a wrong
I want
thing
your
to
answer,
say.
man. I don't care about the right answer.
So my answer is I shouldn't have even went into the fight. I wasn't physically 100%. And fighters normally aren't, but I really was like, this was an injury where it was like, you got to postpone because not only that, but it was a really big fight where like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. Like the next fight is for a lot of money and stuff. Like, let's really solidify this. And, but I went into the fight with fractured ribs and, I fractured my ribs about a month out from the fight. And I thought that if I just took it easy and, and did my cardio and just got my stamina up, that my skill set would be enough. But it wasn't because I was just out of shape. Me personally, the best way for me to get in shape is sparring. I could run 10 miles every day, but I wouldn't be in nearly as good a shape as if I worked on sparring, which is the closest thing to the fight.
So why, and sorry for cutting you off, if that is the case, why do you even run? Like, why not just swap your running for more time in the bag?
Well, it all works. Like it all works together. You got the running. You also have your diet, water intake. You have days that you're sparring. You have days that you're just working the ground. Just it's
Footwork
all
and
works
stuff,
together.
right.
Strength and conditioning. It's like a really strategic way that you gotta, depending on who you are, your injuries and energy levels, and what you actually are in. That good and great in, you know what I mean? It depends on you.
It just seems like boxing compared to other martial arts, they run so much more. And they're the ones that don't need their legs. Like, you know what I mean? Like you see kickboxers and even wrestlers and guys that are in the UFC, running is definitely part of the routine, but like they're not running 10 miles a day like you guys are. I've just always been so curious about it.
So that's actually, I don't think that that's the right way, running 5-10 miles every day. I think like maybe doing 3 times a week. If you're doing flats, you can maybe do 5 or 6 miles flat. But if you're doing hills or whatever, maybe throwing some sprints in there, cool. 3 times a week. But then one day a week you do a swimming.
Got it.
Then the second day or another day of the week you're doing no running, but only sprints and leg exercises on a ladder, on a track.
Sure.
Or stairs. There's different ways to run. There's like the long distance flat, there's hills, then you got sprints, then you got stairs. So every week on Saturday, I'll switch out for a different one.
What is your preferred way of cardio?
The only thing strenuous I feel should be with cardio are the sprints.
Yeah.
Everything else should be, I like to work easy, but high volume.
Like a long distance run.
Yeah, we could do like long distance run,
swimming or something.
Yeah, swimming, things like that are very like just building up the body. Nothing that's like, oh shit, I have 2 weeks to the fight. Let me run 15 miles and try to get some air. Like,
sure.
It's not gonna work like that.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna mess yourself up.
Got it. The whole thing that's always tripped me up as an outside, I guess spectator would be the different like federations. Like I know there's 4 main federations in boxing.
Right.
Do you navigate in and out of each? Do you pick one and go, or like which one is the hardest and most well known?
Well, I think the most well known is the WBC. That's the green belt. That's like the most important.
That's the green belt.
Valuable belt. Yeah.
When you say it's the most important, does that mean like the WBC champs are the best boxers?
It just means like that's like the highest prestige belt. I think I'm not sure if there's like a technicality behind it, but it's more so like generally what the people think.
But what does it mean? Like, what does that mean? It's a federation? Because you mentioned to me like promoter pitches MSG and primetime or whatever it may be, and then goes down to you. Do they now have to pitch these federations?
Yeah, so it's like sanctioning bodies.
Okay.
So, you know what? Like it's even hard to it's like a sanctioning body, and there's four different ones, but they also have interim belts in between, and it's really hard to give you an accurate description because it's all fucking bullshit.
Right? Why?
It's all like under the table cash stuff.
Yeah.
It's like full shit. It's like smoke and mirrors. You know, they just keep adding things for ways to extort fucking the money that's being made. And
that's so odd.
So like, I get it through business and things like that, but is it really benefiting the sport of boxing? No. That's why it doesn't make fucking sense to me. So like, it's all just like, so for example, someone could be out the ring for 3 years, and if their manager knows somebody or has 10 to 15 grand to spend to invest into you, they can get you to fight for one of those interim titles right when you come back. I could fight for an interim title in fucking 2 months if I wanted to.
If you wanted to, right?
If I wanted to, and then like that interim title will get me ranked in the top 10, 15.
So why wouldn't you do that?
I'm already ranked. I'm already ranked like I think 10 now or 11. So the last fight I just had was me out of the ring for a while. But I didn't have the proper management, things like that. So after that last fight, I was able to really kind of solidify my team. But we're on that road now. I'm back in the top 10. I was 10. I think a fight happened like 2 weeks ago. It put me back to 11. So
your top 10 in this overall ranking, are all these different federations involved with that ranking? Or is it just like an overarching?
So it'll be top 10 in, let's say, the WBA.
Got it. Okay. So you're the top 10 in which federation?
Right. In WBA, I believe it is.
Okay.
WBO. One of the two. I think it's WBA.
Yeah. And then the other ones you're not ranked technically? Is that because that's when you fight in?
Yeah, no. I don't know. These things are
Seems confusing for everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is, I never really had to deal with this because I was always with an A-list company. So right now I'm in a transitional period where like I'm essentially a free agent where I'm getting fights and everything, but now it's more so working with, because I am 23-1, I could go and work here if I want. Then I could go work here. If I sign with a company, now I'm limited to only fighting under that one company.
Got it.
And there's people in my weight class all around these different companies that I would love to fight instead of being caged in one company with a select few of people in my weight that I can really generate money with, you know? Okay.
So you mentioned like again, Terrence Crawford is one of the best in the world. He's a WBC boxer.
Yeah. He had all the belts. He was undisputed.
Oh, he went. Yeah. Okay. And you can obviously bounce around from these different federations. Who is the best boxer at your weight class, regardless of federation right now?
At 147, I would think Jaron Ennis. But it's hard to say because it's a group of guys that are very vicious guys. You got Virgil Ortiz, you got Jaron Ennis and things like that. But a lot of them haven't been tested with each other, with the same type of
that
matchup.
Always seems to be the thing about boxing. It's like, yeah, his undefeated record is great, but he's never really fought anybody else. And people say it about Canelo, no? Like that he just doesn't.
Well, I mean, Canelo at this point has fought everybody.
Right. How could you even say it anymore?
But it's part of the business, you know, like especially, and there was a company, especially when I was involved with that does this, where it's like, they just want to control everything. So like they'll sign a guy, build him up, sign a guy, build him up, and then put them to fight each other and they collect.
Right.
You know, so it's like, this is the name of the game. That's why, like, yeah, maybe the company knows, like, the company could even know, like, all right, we're going to build this guy up to feed him to this guy. But, like, they won't tell you that shit. Of course. You know, and they'll be, like, working with you for 3 to 5 years to be like, all right, he seems to have trouble with the tall guy. So, yeah, this guy sucks. He should beat him, but we'll put him in with a tall guy. He'll get past that guy, hopefully. He'll get past the guy, and now, like, that guy's a little better now because he fought a tall guy. All right, the next guy, let's give him a tough Mexican guy that just comes forward. Now he dealt with that, and now he knows how to deal with that. So they'll mold him through these guys that he's supposed to beat, but in a sense, you know, as time goes on, he is getting better. So then it just gets to a point where it's like, all right, not only is his skill set there to put him in a fight like this, but by now he should have been marketed in a way where he does have some type of following, and it makes sense to.
Okay, that all makes sense now, and that could be happening right now with you. You just don't really know.
Yeah, there's waves, especially in a fighter. Like, even if you just think of entertainment in general, where there's a lot of ups and downs, like people could have a good 3 years and then like they're in the shadow for a year, 2 years, and then maybe they come out with their next hit or something, or they get a feature, or it could be, it's the same thing with boxing, bro. Like there's so many, they hit their first stride, like their first like go around with a company. And then like, let's say it works out, if it doesn't work out, whatever, somewhere down the line, you're going to deal with some type of management issues, because if things are going bad, that's going to cause some frustration. If things are going well, it's going to cause more corruption. So like, it's just, you got to really.
It's almost like all this noise, you just can't listen to any of it. You just got to head down and train. And
yeah, that's what you think.
Right.
That's how a fighter should think. But then, like, if you don't focus on the hoopla, gimmicky shit, now they don't look at you like you're something they want to invest in.
Understood. Okay. Are you actively looking for fights right now?
Yeah, we're actually in negotiations now.
You are?
Yeah.
And you can't say
I think it might be in Florida. I don't know who yet, but I'm in the top 10, so it's going to be somebody.
In the top 10. Who do you want to fight?
This doesn't make sense to me to call anybody out right now.
Yeah.
But I want the top of the division. I'm trying to get to the top of the division.
Right.
It don't matter who it is. It's not a personal thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, because it is, and it seems confusing for everybody, you, let's say, win the WBA belt. Do you then go to like a WBC and say like, hey, I want to fight that champ?
Yeah. Like once you're starting to win belts and things like that, like it all depends on who's your promoter and things, or what they have, like, if they want to protect you longer, if you're a cash grabbing type of fighter, like a Canelo, where like you pack the place out every time, then they're going to give you easy defenses so you can hold on to your title longer, and then maybe fight for, or wait until it's time to fight for another belt where it's not so hard now. Or like, oh, this guy got robbed and he won the world title, but he wasn't better than the guy. So like now is a good time to go and beat that guy.
Doing that on
to
purpose
get that
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a fucking chess game, bro.
What weight class does he fight at, Canelo? 141?
No, he's fucking 168, 175. Like he started, smaller.
That's why I thought he was a smaller dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So camp starts. What does the day in the life look like for you? Assuming you're in camp.
Yeah, it depends on the day. But typically if it's like a Wednesday or maybe a Saturday or something, I'll wake up, I'll do a light run. I would say maybe 3-4 miles flat. Get to the gym maybe around 1 o'clock. Stretching out. We do some jump roping. Obviously I'm forgetting breakfast.
Talk me through it. I want to hear everything.
All right. So waking up, we go on the run. We come back. We eat breakfast.
No food before the run?
No.
Okay.
I like fasted cardio. I'll chill out. I'll see if I have some time, what the time is looking like. If I can relax, maybe get some more rest, or like do some shit around the house that I need to do. Get to the gym around 1. Jump roping, shadow boxing. We're doing leg drills on the ladder. If it's sparring that day, we're doing sparring, either somewhere between 6 to 10 rounds around there. I would say I'm in the gym around 3 hours. Heavy bag, pads, exercises, maybe some sit-ups, pull-ups, things like that. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a matter of keeping it very structured and consistent.
Yeah, because at this point, you know how to box, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously you are where you are for a reason. Does it mean that sparring is almost, not that it's watered down, but like are your sparring partners there for a reason? Like they're not trying to take your head off, right?
It depends. It depends like what I need or what I'm looking for, or how I feel in my camp. Like if I feel in my camp like, okay, everything is moving the way I should, I'm getting sharper, let's pick up the sparring partners now.
Right.
Now instead of just me moving around working on jabs and like, head movement, now let's have some sparring sessions where it's like I'm in a fight now.
Got it. So you're telling like hey, go all out against this dude.
Yeah, and I'll get someone that I can hang with in that regard.
Have you ever had a sparring partner like really shock the shit out of you? You're like, well, this dude is solid. Yeah,
all the time. And there's also a lot of sparring partners that do great in sparring. They get to the fight and they look terrible.
Isn't that the craziest thing?
And vice versa. There's sparring partners that do terrible, but when the bright lights come on, they're like the next greatest thing. You know, it's weird.
Which category would you say you fall into?
I would say the fighting.
Clearly, you're doing well in the ring.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
but also it's because my mindset is a little different when I'm training now. Like, whereas before I would get into these wars in the gym. Like I was trained and coached like a dog, bro. Like, get in there and let's go. If I didn't go and try to knock the guy out, I would have to fucking walk home sometimes. So like,
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So like, but when you go through injuries and when I've also been in really big training camps like Manny Pacquiao and a lot of world champions where
as their partners.
Yeah.
Really?
So like I would study and see how the tempo that they would be training or their camps would be, and they would bring terrible guys for sparring. And I'm like, I'm like by miles the best sparring partner here, and I'm actually giving him good work and he's leaving with black eyes and shit. Like, why is this guy over here? He looks like he has like 5 amateur fights. Like, what? And that's where I learned like, oh, like you gotta pace yourself.
There's a process to this.
Yeah, you can't go and kill yourself every day. Like if you kill yourself on Monday, you're gonna feel it on Tuesday and Wednesday, as opposed to training normal Monday, having another training normal session Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as opposed to killing yourself and not being able to give 100% the next day.
Got it. How was it training against Manny Pacquiao?
It was a great experience. I learned a lot more so outside the ring than I did inside the ring.
Like what?
Just how to conduct yourself when you're a person of that stature, you know what I mean?
How fast was he?
Yeah, he's very fast. It's mostly his footwork.
Right.
You know, hand speed, I'm very quick when I want to be also. So like, it wasn't anything surprising, but it was how you use it. It's the stutter stepping, and then he'll feint, he'll even throw something for show, like 3 punches to make you defend or blink. And then like he'll step around you, and then like when you open your eyes again, he's over here. Then when you look, then he throws 7 on you. So like it's like how he sets it up. That's
what makes him so good is his setup.
The setup. He also naturally has heavy hands, but he focuses on hand speed. So like if he were to focus on power punching, like he'll start hurting people.
Okay.
You know, but he's just naturally heavy-handed. So when he focuses on hand speed, the power just comes with it.
Understood. Who was the hardest hitter you've either sparred with or fought?
Oof, hardest hitter. I fought Tank twice.
Did you?
We were like 16 years old. I remember distinctively he had good crack. Like there's 2 types of power. There's like a thumping, thud, heavy power shot where it's not explosive and it's just like, damn, that shit feels like a fucking horse kicked me, you know? Then you got fighters that are quick and explosive and like they have like this crack where it feels like you feel their knuckle like through the glove and it's a stinging pain. He has this stinging pain where it's like, ooh, like that shit hurt my face. Like that shit hurt, you know? It wasn't like I just got hit with a glove, you know? It feels like an elbow. That's like the closest thing I could think
That's
of.
so
Like, it
interesting.
feels like if someone elbowed you on the top of your fucking head. You're like, damn.
And how do you execute that sort of punch? Is it a different form?
Precision and explosiveness.
Got it. Okay.
It's the torque behind the punch.
Right. You sparred with him or you actually fought him?
No, I fought him. I used to be a sparring partner when we were young, like from the ages of like 10 to like 14. I would always have to travel because I was so good when I was younger that like no kids can hang with me. I wasn't getting better. And my stepdad would have to travel. We would drive in this big gold conversion van.
That's so funny.
And we would drive hours and hours. We would go to Baltimore, Florida, Washington, D.C., Kansas, Texas, Philly, like all these places where there was good work.
Sure. Because it was hard for you to find.
Jersey wasn't like a boxing state.
Yeah. How was it? How'd you do against him when you fought him?
Tank?
Yeah.
I beat him both times.
You did?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, we're 16 years old, and I was bigger than him when we fought. But here's the thing, like, the first fight actually knocked him down. And I have it on video. I'm just waiting for the right time.
Right now is the right time, actually.
No. It would be.
This is the right time, right? Fucking on this podcast, actually.
So
I want to see that video, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, if there's a fight brewing at some point, but
Yeah, I beat that motherfucker twice. What's up?
Yeah,
I'm on my third.
So the first fight that we fought, which is the fight that I dropped him in, it was actually a pretty close fight because throughout the years when I would spar him, like I said, I was always bigger than him, and I would always bully him. Like the coach would actually use me as the boogeyman. Be like, "Oh, you're not in the gym. I'm gonna call a little white boy from Jersey to come over here and whatever." And we would go every few months or whatever, and you could tell he was younger. We were young kids though, so it doesn't really. But he definitely did respect me in that regard. So I would always spar him. I think a lot of times I would make him cry and stuff like that, which it's a common thing, especially when you're dealing with fighters that aren't emotionally stable.
It's like a frustration cry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and especially when you're growing up in an atmosphere like he did, you're not emotionally stable. None of us are when we're not living normal lives, So I would always bully him around, and there would even be times I would have to take it easy. Like my dad was like, "Yo, chill out a little bit." Cool. So years later, when this fight happens, I actually was supposed to fight somebody else. He was supposed to fight somebody else, and our opponents fell through. So we were like, all right, I guess let's just put on a show for the people, whatever. My stepdad is close friends with his coach, Calvin, his name.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I'm like, oh, perfect. Like, because in sparring, it's actually heavier gloves. You have padding on, so it's more protective. So if I whip his ass in sparring, I'm going to really put a hurting on him in this fight. So right when that bell rang, I just walked right up to him trying to throw bombs, no real fucking technique. And little by little, he was showing me that he learned some things in that time, and he was pulling back and countering me with some sneaky shots. And I remember in the first round, and I could tell he was scared. I could tell like in the first round, but that's a dangerous fighter when someone's alert. When someone is alert, I could just see his eyes are this big. He's very reactive. I'm throwing feints in there. I'm getting closer. And he's just very reactive, moving. And I throw something at him. And right away, he slips and comes with an uppercut right in the middle. And I remember that it hurt so bad, but it was like an annoying pain. Like it didn't stop me and to make me go like, oh shit, let me back up and relax. It got me where it was like, oh, you little motherfucker. You know what I mean? And it made me like coming more like, all right, I thought we were,
Yeah.
And I hit him with a shot and I dropped him in that fight.
Hit him where?
He was southpaw. He went to throw a hook and then my hook came right over it.
Ooh.
So like he went to throw something, boom, boom. So like it was like the timing was perfect.
Right.
And he went to step back to move away and then he dropped. So it was like a delayed reaction. Then he got up and his headgear was like slightly knocked off.
Oh, right, because you're still, okay, got it.
So like the referee's counting and he's stomping his legs because he had no legs. So he's stomping his legs trying to get his feeling back. But then the referee gave him like an out because the thing was off. So he was like, all right, time.
Yeah.
He went to the corner. As he's walking to the corner, he's stomping the feet. I'll show you the video. He's stomping his feet and everything. And then, cool. We went back to fighting. It was a back and forth fight. I don't think I have the rest of the fight, but it was very back and forth. It was an even fight. Not gonna lie. The second time around, it was like 2-3 weeks later, and he
2-3 weeks later, you fought him again?
Yeah.
Why?
Amateurs, it's a weekly thing.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't so. I would say maybe about a month.
Whatever. Yeah.
And he came down again to New Jersey. I think we were fighting in Passaic. Maybe, was it at the Venetian? I don't know. It was somewhere. It was some banquet hall. And he literally trolled me the whole time.
Really?
I didn't understand it at first, right? So I get there. Now this fight, I was nervous, dude, because I'm like, damn, I know what he did last time. Like,
he's coming correct.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough fight. Like, I was nervous. I get in there. He runs to me in the middle of the ring. Like, bing, he sprints to me and then backs up and starts laughing. So I'm like, all right, whatever. His little tactic is not going to work on me, whatever. I'm going in there, I'm fighting, I'm trying to fight him. And it's not even boxing. Like, he's just running. And I would corner him. I would chase him down, throw a combination. He would block, get out and laugh. And that was for fucking the whole fight. And after the fight, I won, whatever. It wasn't much of a fight. And afterwards, my stepdad and his coach, like we came together all to, say what's up, good fight. And his coach was like, man, we got that big tournament in a week. He's talking about the Junior Olympics at the time.
Okay.
So, we got that big tournament in a week. This is just, we're really here for sparring, bro. We're not trying to get into another dogfight a week out from this tournament.
Wow.
So I was like, you could do that? Like, I didn't process. Right. I thought we were supposed to fight. Like, and that goes to show you my mindset at the time. Like, I literally thought and was bred and coached that like every fight was like a dog fight. Like a, live to, this fight to the death type of thing, this mentality. And that creates a lot of fucking weird shit when you're dealing with a kid,
Why then, again, it's just so intriguing to me, like the paths you guys went on. You're beating him at 16 years old. He goes on to really, really rise in the ranks, and now he's, one of the most well-known boxers in the world. Right. Why did you guys go these separate paths? I guess what could you have done differently at the time?
It definitely has to do with backing. That's number one. Also, right when 2015, I believe it was, I fought in the Prudential Center. I was training for a fight at the Prudential Center. 2 weeks before the fight, I tore my labrum. I just didn't know it was torn. I just thought it was a regular shoulder injury. And I go to the fight. I knock this guy out in the first round. And as I'm recovering after the fight for like 2 weeks, the pain got worse. And so that next fight, after that fight at the Prudential Center, was going to be my HBO debut. But I had to get surgery. So like there were little times like that in my career that were like right where it was about to happen, something happened. Right when this is about to happen, okay, now I'm having managerial issues that keeps me at the ring for 2-3 years. Like I'm recovering from that right now. But,
this is frustrating for me.
It's like things that happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also he had a very innovative mentor, Floyd. The same thing that Al Heyman did to Floyd, he did to
Gervonta.
Yeah.
How would you fare against Gervonta if you guys fought today?
I think it would be a great fight. I think in terms of skill set, I think he's 1 or 2 right now.
Yeah.
Best in the sport right now. The way he was progressing, that's why a good team is essential. And a lot of fighters have taken this route where like the manager will pair them with an OG in the game. Gervonta had Floyd. You got Shakur Stevenson. Is out of Newark. Jay Prince we had the same manager. Jay Prince put him with Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford. So when you're around that and then you're just around that atmosphere, as it is with anything else.
Right.
If you're into real estate and you want to be a real estate investor, you go around these people, eventually you're going to get either better or that you're going to see things differently from how they see it. Like
opportunities.
Yeah. And those things actually really go a long way because it helps a fighter's confidence. And the fighter could be the best fucking skilled fighter out there, but if his confidence is not there or if his mind is not right,
it doesn't matter.
He's not even the same fighter.
Now, was Arturo Gatti a mentor like that for you, or you didn't really?
No, unfortunately, he didn't stick around long enough.
Yeah,
he didn't stick around long enough. But I did have a lot of experiences growing up around him. Our manager Pat Lynch would throw shows at Shitzen Park, North Bergen area. I think it's like kind of like outside of the tunnel. If you keep going straight, and Arturo would go. And I would be this little kid with some big curly hair, and he'd be all drunk, be like, "Oh, there's the fucking kid, hey, with the hair. Come here, hey, do the fucking punches, And I'd be there like in front of all his drunk friends with this big fucking afro, going like, and they would fucking clap for me, and yeah, it was cool.
That's fun.
But a lot of people I'm also around now, like or friends with now, have tons of Arturo stories. So I hear a lot about him and. There's so many parallels between his story and my story and children and dealing with toxic fucking women and things like that and how that really affects a person or a fighter, in general.
That's a shame that you weren't able to be around him a little more, you know what I mean? That sucks.
I feel like that would have been a cool pair. You know what I mean?
Are you looking? I mean, now you're more of not an OG, but like, would you look for that pair now, or now it's just like, hey, I am 23-1. I want to fight the best of the best, and I'm gonna get the fight. And when I do get the fight, I'm gonna prove myself to you guys.
Right. Well, I mean, I've been around a lot of these guys.
Right.
A lot of world champions. Danny Garcia. Manny Pacquiao, Provodnikov. You got Kendall Holt, who's right here in New Jersey. You got Shakur. I spent a lot of time with when he was young. Just around a lot of these fighters. So I kind of know where I'm at. But what I would take away from that would be feeling like I'm in a wolf pack.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That really
you're around
does.
The greats, yeah.
And I was raised that way. I was coached like that. I was always the head of my team.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad had a whole team that was ranked nationally, and I was always like the alpha. So I would always be the alpha, and I would have maybe 10 to 15 kids behind me. We're all traveling the country and doing all these things. And then once I turned pro, a lot of those kids weren't there anymore, or some of them went to the streets and things like that. And all of a sudden I look back and I'm by myself. So I think, and it shouldn't, but just to nitpick, I think to an extent that those times weighed on me a little bit, where I'm like, man, I wish I had a team that I could lead on this run with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's when, boxing's a lonely sport for a reason, so.
There's really not much you could do about that now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, my team now, they're pretty
Right.
hands-on, we rescheduled a few times to do this podcast, which is my apologies,
Dude,
but
don't worry about it.
they were supposed to all come with me, and I enjoy that at this point in my career.
Oh, I wish they came, man. That'd been fun.
Yeah. My team, I bring them everywhere with me.
Yeah, that'd have been great, man.
Yeah.
Next time we do one,
and we do things all together now. So whether it's going for runs or going strength and conditioning, we all do things as a team. And I've realized as I got older the importance of that.
Just a team around you.
Yeah, just having good people that are there to support you and that vibe around you. Before, when my stepdad kind of planted, and it was the right way, but it's just from a different era and different mindset, mind frame, whatever. But the loner thing, we're here to do this. Don't talk to nobody. We're here to fucking go. We're here to fight. We're here in Irvington to fight. Stop asking kids if they want to fucking play Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you look for friends.
Yeah, I'm over here do you want to duel?
Yeah,
and it's
he's like, motherfucker, we're fighting.
Yeah, it's kids bumping Tupac in their ear and shit, and I'm fucking watching Yu-Gi-Oh and shit.
Yeah, that is a hard dynamic, man. Because you are still a kid at the end of the day, and you do yearn for these relationships, and your dad's telling you no, or stepdad's telling you no, this is the one thing you care about. And then growing up, you're like, okay, and now you look back, you're like, well, fuck, how do I create relationships and really build bonds with guys outside of the boxing space,
Yeah.
Are you now, so you're in a situation where you're looking for this next big fight, correct?
Right, yeah.
And the camp you're with right now, you feel that sort of camaraderie, right?
Yeah, I do. Good. I'm very, very, very excited about the way it's structured and the cohesiveness that I feel within the camp now.
I would assume your confidence shines when you have people around, not yes men that are telling you you're great, just people that you can then prove it to. Again, you don't want to go on a 5-mile run where you got guys that are counting on you to go on that 5-mile run or looking at you as the best. Well, you got to be the best now.
Right.
I noticed you're Christian as of recent. Did boxing pull that out of you, or did something else happen in your life that you wanted to find God?
Well, it's just, I feel like I'm always dealing with some type of internal struggle. Even if it's not anything negative, there's just something that I want better for myself. And I feel like leaning more towards Christ was really, is really beneficial for me in terms of keeping my mindset straight and pure. And I just notice I'm the best version of myself when I align myself with God like that. Mm-hmm. And it's structured, and I truly really align my mental, spiritual, and physical together. It's just I really feel unstoppable, bro. I feel yeah.
That's awesome, man. It shows a religion proves to you that it's never too late to truly find yourself. Like you said, I am the best version of myself, but a lot of people I think struggle with who are they? You know,
Yeah.
if all you know is
Yeah.
one thing, like boxing, okay, you're a great boxer, correct. But like, what else does that mean for you as an individual? And I think when you're so wrapped up in these things, you don't have somebody to talk to, as in Christ or God. Life gets very lonely, and
Yeah.
you bear a lot of these problems onto your own shoulders. And it's just not meant to be like that. A lot of stress and anxiety comes from those different things. And you were supposed to be perfect every single day of your life. So now it's like, I got to surrender to something. You know?
No, it's definitely helped me also change my, what I perceive as valuable, you know, my priorities, as anyone does as they get older. But, you know, when you're a distracted young man, you make a lot of mistakes, or you attract the wrong crowd.
Sure.
And at this point in my life, I'm very content with where my priorities are in terms of what I value in life. Being a father, my family legacy and bloodline, I really value those things. And like, I want to do as much as I can in this life that I have, and leave it somewhere where like my grandkids could be proud of me, or say like, did you know my grandpa used to fight in the garden? Like, you know, or like my grandpa was in a movie, like things like that. Like those are the things that I'm like, I think there's nothing that tops that.
Right.
I want a lot of children. I want a big family. That's kind of like how I was raised to, you know, I'm very family oriented. I feel like the more loved ones you have around you, the more purpose you have in your life, or the more clear it becomes. More source of motivation to grab from, you know what I mean? I feel like family is literally everything. So, and that's coming from me at a point in time where I felt like maybe at a time where I didn't see how valuable or how impactful those things could be in my life, you know?
How many kids do you have?
I have two right now.
And you've had, and how old are they?
12 and 6.
12. So you were young when you had your first kid.
Yeah, I was 17.
And that was with a girlfriend at the time, or?
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you still talking to her?
No, she's not my significant other, but we co-parent very amicably, and you know, that's my son's mother, and my son loves him very much, and I love my son. My son loves her.
Right.
And I love my son, so like, you know, that's how I view, I guess, my relationship with my son's mother.
You have to have respect for your son. Does he box?
No, but that kid could knock anybody out
Really?
if he wants to. Yeah.
You don't want him in a ring?
No. I want him to go a different route, different business, real estate. You know, yeah, I'm not.
It's interesting that you're almost not scarred by the space itself, but I guess a little bit like tainted from it. Yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I don't want to say it. But
Yeah.
what would you be doing if it wasn't for boxing?
Music production.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still produce?
Yeah.
Just like on the side for fun?
Well, I have opportunities to really take it somewhere, but it's just, everyone knows, man, when you're trying to really excel in something, it needs to take up 100% of your time.
Yeah, you can't produce music.
And I
box at the
can't
same time.
be like, yeah, I'm gonna box and then like I'll sell a beat here and hopefully I make like, no. Like, music does something for me, and it's like I'm very passionate about music because it was also one of the things that I did alongside boxing that helped keep me sane. Because it's like, in one aspect, I'm using this part of the brain and I'm very physical, and I'm adding all this trauma to my body, and then I can go home and just sit in a chair, and now I'm using different parts of my senses and hearing things and feeling something, and I'm tired, but I can write music, right? Like, it's just, I feel like it complements each other very well. As far as the music production, you know, living an artist lifestyle is not for boxing, but
Definitely not. You could be like Roy Jones and just have your own walkout song, and that then turns into a number one hit.
yeah.
It's an interesting feeling, like your body's so drained and tired, but it's like a good feeling. You're like, all right, I get to relax and play
creative
music now.
purposes,
Yeah,
you know,
because your
yeah.
body, you're not thinking about doing it. You don't want to go
Right.
for a walk right now because you're fucking tired.
Yep.
What you mentioned, Manny Pacquiao's footwork and movement is what makes him great. What makes you great?
The amount of tools I have in my arsenal. I feel like if I want to walk somebody down and throw hard, I can do that. If I want to box and do the Mayweather shit, defensive fighter, I can do that. I just feel like I have a lot of tools. I feel like at this stage in a fighter's career, when they're at a certain level, it's more so about conditioning. Like everyone in the top 5 has something maybe different. This guy's maybe more of a technical guy. This guy is just a power puncher that comes through and throws crazy punches. This guy's a slick southpaw, and like everyone has their own little thing. So like you kind of have to have all these tools to be able to manage. Because once someone figures out that you're not up to par in one area, one attribute, forget it. They're gonna extort that.
Got you.
So
you're just well versed.
Yeah.
Got
but I would love to ideally work on my cardio, conditioning, and things like that to get it to be the best. Sometimes it's hard for me to align the diet, the cardio, and all that stuff, because I fluctuate, I think, a little too much for how I should. Yeah.
You fight at 148, right?
147.
147. And what do you walk around at?
Well, seems to be a little personal.
Oh, I'm sorry. I asked
You never ask a
personal
fighter
question
when
for
he
you,
walks
bro.
around.
It's like asking a girl.
But yeah, I would say around 160 to 165.
Okay, so it's not a terrible weight cut.
No,
for you.
but for 140 and being consistent like that, it's not how it should be.
Have you gone, I'm sure, an excruciating weight cut, like you were 10 pounds over?
Oh yeah, I've done like a 28 pound in 1 week thing.
A lot of abilene.
Abilene 3 times a day, barely eating, maybe 4 ounces of chicken or something, no carbs. Yeah, that's the unhealthy way.
It is, and like people hear that and they say, "Wow, that's a lot of weight." They're not realizing what that's doing as far as like a dehydration to your brain. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to get fucking hit when you're dehydrated and 20 pounds
I'm
less.
scared of like seizures and things like that. I've seen people do that.
Yeah, your brain is not meant to get hit when it's dehydrated like that.
Right. Yeah.
So again, we're excited to see this next fight, and we could talk more off camera about what you expect it to be like.
Right.
And listen, man, I've watched you only from these last couple weeks here. The way you hit somebody, it's like you are punching a punching bag. Like it's exactly what you want it to look like. It's like perfect. Like your technique is so on point, and that's what's so impressive to the outside, perspective is like, this dude is doing exactly, and maybe it's just because you've done it for so fucking long. You're not getting in the ring and changing what you once did. Even I watch the greats like, Javante and Ryan Garcia right now, or like a Floyd, and you just look like you're so precise. Like I can count the amount of punches you're landing, and it's really, really impressive to watch. I am very excited to see where this goes for you. Right now, I have a new favorite fighter to watch. I've never really watched boxing. I'm more into like the MMA and the UFC style of stuff, but this is a lot of fun, and so great to see where you go from here.
No, I appreciate that, man.
Last question we always ask a guest is, throughout your entire life, boxing or not boxing related, what has been the lowest of your lows, and follow that up with what has been the highest of your highs?
The lowest of the lows is going to be ironically, it was after I suffered my defeat, but it wasn't so much the loss that was bothering me. And I can arguably say, and this may sound like an excuse, but I don't give a shit what you guys have to say. This is my truth. But I was dealing with a lot of things at that time. Things that maybe shouldn't have affected me in the way they did. Things within my family, divorces in my family, and just my whole family kind of like split up. Just dealing with that weighed a lot on me mentally, because I really valued that unity that we had, and it was a great source of purpose for me my entire life, because they were also very supportive of me, and it's almost like we did this journey together, and it's almost like, all right, I'm right there, guys, and I look behind, and now no one, they're like off, everyone's doing their own thing. That kind of affected me for a while. But then financially, I took a big hit from that, because he's keeping me from fighting. So I went through a whole fucking low point there, but there was so much positivity that came out of that. I really started to learn and understand ways to invest my money after that, because it's like at any point someone could just be mad at you or be spiteful and be like, I'm gonna put a pause on your life now, even though I'm worth 300 fucking plus million, but yeah, let's put a pause on your little old life. And I have kids and things like that, so like it just caused a big snowball of things for me. But I really educated myself more on business and investing and managing my money and ways to structure my business, my team, my management training. And I'm still working on that shit, by the way. But these are the things that caught my attention in that time for me to be like, okay, well, this can never happen again. And I'm glad it did at a, time like this, but, early on. But so I learned a lot about stuff there, learned a lot about my family in that time because like I said before, it was a big family internal split going on. So I started to learn about who these people in my family were, and you learn more about your parents, and it helps you learn more about yourself and your tendencies and things that maybe you're not conscious that you're doing, or whatever. Sure. So I learned a lot about that, which in return I learned a lot about myself and my habits and ways to break out of them. And the highest of the highs, I'm gonna say actually, during the lockdown, because I was doing very well for myself at that time. I was fighting on ESPN a lot, and I was just able to do, I was spending so much time with my children, and that's why I'm kind of referencing this time period, was because I spent so much time with my children. I was able to do whatever I wanted to do with them. We did so many fun things. We go into the city all the time, going to the Harry Potter store, going to doing a whole bunch of festive things. I took them to Disney World, whatever, so many cool things, and I think just that place in my life, it was at a time where I could breathe,
right? Where
I felt like, okay, I'm good right now. But that's the mistake, is breathing in a time like that, instead of going like, okay, things are good. All right, how can we preserve this? And how can we multiply this or whatever? There's no things hanging over my head. Cool.
It seems like your life is just full of extremes. It's like one way or the other, and I think life is all about the balance of, your life is not a regular 9-to-5 job. So it's going to be extremely chaotic. And it's like finding those moments to breathe within the chaos, and not just saying I'm either on or I'm off,
right? Because
that's where anxiety comes in. And you should allow yourself, you deserve those little moments to breathe and appreciate your family and downtime and things like that. So but look, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. I'm again excited to see where you go, and I'll be right by your side there. So shout out your handles to the group.
At Team Hammer Hands on all platforms. John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This is a great time. Absolutely. That's it for today, everybody. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Cheers.